Hello, hello, my friend. In this video, we are talking about how to beat overwhelm in nursing school. I know if you're in nursing school, you know what this looks like. Feeling overwhelmed all the time, confused all the time, not knowing how to do anything that you need to do in nursing school. So in this video, I'm going to give you the step-by-step process to help you really hone in your thoughts and beat overwhelm and confusion in nursing school. Let's do it. So there's a little phenomenon that I want to talk about first that you've got to know about and identify before you can start this process of really beating overwhelm in nursing school. Now this is a huge deal, and here's what it is. It's that you have to plan for your brain to have its moment and freak out. So if you notice, anytime that you go and do something hard or uncomfortable or difficult, like basically anything you have to do in nursing school, right? Like a skills test or an exam or working with your nurse at clinical. Oh my gosh, there's just so many times in nursing school where our brain is just overloaded. Your brain is going to freak out. It's going to have these thoughts like, I don't know how. I don't know what to do. I'm so confused. I'm so overwhelmed. All of those things like, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. Your brain is going to freak out anytime that you try to go and do something uncomfortable or something new. So you must plan for this. This is step number one. You've got to notice those thoughts that are coming up in your mind, your brain freaking out, and identify what those thoughts are. So if you have been in nursing school like for 2 seconds, you know that this is true, that literally anytime you try to go and do something new or different or anything that gives you that experience of anxiety or stress or overwhelm, your brain is going to tell you that it doesn't want to do it. Your brain wants to stay in its little comfortable, state. Your brain wants to do everything that it already knows how to do. So when you ask your brain to then push yourself out of your comfort zone, try something new, grow as a person, as a nursing student into a nurse, your brain is going to have some thoughts about that. And most likely those thoughts are going to be very negative. Like what we just mentioned before, I can't do this. I don't know how. It's not possible. I'm not good enough. All of those things. So if you find yourself having those thoughts, I really want you to identify those. And now we're going into step number 2, which is to write them down. Now this step number 2 is a very, very important piece, and I associate it with 2 Corinthians 10:5, which says, take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So what this means is that we are going to actually identify all of our thoughts and subject them to God. Subject those thoughts to Jesus, because we want to rewire our brain in a way that we are no longer having those human thoughts, right? Those thoughts that are not of God. Those thoughts that tell us that we're not good enough. The thoughts that tell us that we can't do it. The thoughts that say, I'll never be a great nurse, or I'll never, never be able to do these things. That's just your brain freaking out. That is your human side just having its moment, creating some drama that you can change. You can absolutely change your thoughts. And we know this because this is what God said. 2 Corinthians 10:5, subject all your thoughts to the obedience of Christ. So make sure that you are identifying all of those thoughts. Now, step number 2, write them all down. I want you to write all of those thoughts that you are having, all of that negativity, all the thoughts going on in your mind, write them all down on a sheet of paper. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to help you really start to identify and learn and track the thoughts in your brain. It's really hard to just think about the thoughts and try to identify them if you're not actually physically writing them down. This has been my experience. I do so much better if I'm actually kind of journaling and writing them all down. It's super, super important. So it just makes it so much easier to identify these thoughts and to notice them if you are actually writing them all down. Now, here's where it might be a little tricky for you. I want you to write all these thoughts down just as in a way that you're just noticing them. Don't judge them. Don't create any drama around them. Don't think that they're bad or negative or anything. Like, don't even think anything of them. Just think that they are totally neutral and just let them be there. Give those thoughts space to be there. So don't judge them. Just write them all down. Even if they're like terrible, terrible thoughts, just write them all down. Now, the third step is to write right next to those thoughts that you just wrote. So you just wrote a whole long list of thoughts that you were having. Now, right next to each one of those, I want you to write what God's perspective would be. Now, this is so powerful because it really helps us remember who we are and whose we are. So you belong to God, you belong to Jesus. So if you have that whole list, since you have that whole list of negative thoughts, you want to write next to it the thoughts and the perspective of God. So what would God say about your thoughts? So for example, if you wrote in your first column that you don't feel good enough to be a nurse, so I don't feel good enough to be a nurse. Right next to that, you could say, well, what does God think about that? Well, obviously, God thinks that you are going to be a fantastic nurse. So write that down. Whatever comes to you, ask God what he thinks and then write that down. So you're going from your perspective, your human side, to God's perspective and what God would say about that thought. Another example would be if you had a thought in your first column that you just can't do it or you're not good enough to do it, you could say in that second column, I'm stronger than I know, or God gives me the strength to do this. God will give me the strength to get through, something like that. So write again in whatever you wrote in that first column, write what God's perspective would be in that second column right next to it. So what this is going to give you is two perspectives on the same problem. So the first perspective, that first column, is all of your thoughts coming from scarcity, from fear, from lack, from not good enough, from all of those negative things. And then on the other side, what God's perspective would be is coming from peace and hope and love and abundance and generosity and all of those positive emotions. Now, here's where things get very exciting and fun. Is step number 4. Now here's where you take action. If you are continuing to take action from the first column, what do you think is going to happen? From my experience, if I am taking action from a place of scarcity and from fear and from not feeling good enough and from lack, I am not coming into those situations in the best way that I could be. I'm not going to show up as my best self. But if you come into your clinical, your lecture class, your skills lab with those thoughts that God has given you, like, I am stronger than I realize. God loves me. God is always here. I have so much hope in this world. All of those positive thoughts that are of God, if you're going to show up that way, you are going to be so much more energized, so much more excited to be there, so much more joyful and content with anything the nursing school throws at you. You are going to take action in such a bigger way because you're not going to be scared. You're not going to feel like you're not good enough. You're not going to have all those thoughts come up that are holding you back. So if you're at clinical and you're working with your co-nurse, oftentimes I hear students say that they're very, very nervous or scared or fearful to work with a nurse on the floor. Like, you're shadowing a nurse, you're working together to actually take care of actual real human beings, actual patients. That's super scary for nursing students. So if you're coming at this as fearful, as not feeling good enough, as feeling not smart enough, you are going to have a very difficult time at clinical working with patients and working with that co-nurse if you genuinely don't feel good enough. But if you have a thought in your mind that is of God and God is saying, no, you're mine, you belong to me, and I love you, therefore you are completely 1000% lovable, and you are like, I made you good. Like, that's what God says. I made you good. If you are coming from that place and you are taking his love and moving that into the world, if you are taking action based on that abundance and that love of God, then you are going to show up in a completely different way. You're going to be confident at clinical working with that co-nurse. You are going to take action and be, raising your hand and be confident in those skills and be excited to just try new things. You see what I'm saying? It's a very different energy that you are going to bring. And it all starts with your thoughts. So when you have a thought, I want you to track them, write them down, and then on the flip side, write down right next to those thoughts what God would say, and then take action from that place, not from the first column, from the second column. Take action from that second column. What does God say about you? Because my friend, you are good enough, and you absolutely can become the nurse that He created you to be. So I'm so excited for you. This is such a powerful exercise. It has absolutely changed my life. I'm currently working with our NursingSOS members on this exact topic. So I'm so excited to see how it works for you as well. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it, what your experience was moving from the more negative, lack, like scarcity thoughts, and then moving into that more abundant mindset and the more confident and cool and confident, those cool and confident thoughts, and what God thinks about you. I would love to know your experience with this and if it was helpful for you. We have also been getting a lot of emails lately from students that are going to be starting nursing school soon or just have started. So congratulations, first off, for being in nursing school. I do want to mention that we have a free nursing school checklist for you. This is an amazing checklist that I created to help you walk through step by step how to study in nursing school, how to prepare for finals, and all of those good things. You cannot live without it in nursing school. You've got to download it right now, print it off, take it with you, and use it at clinical and at lecture class and while you study to really help you focus in on your studying, making sure that you're studying the right things. That is a huge, huge deal in nursing school. Please, please, please don't waste your time studying the wrong things. I literally tell you in this checklist what you need to be focusing on. So I hope you will download it right now. I will put a link below in the description for you to check that out. And as well, I usually pop it in that first comment as well under the video. So you can find it in either of those two places. I usually do both. So I hope that is so helpful for you, friends. And again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so, so happy to share this time with you. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. We'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.